Hi. The subject is being a riffmaster. Riffmaster. You want to be a riffmaster? It's not difficult. Many will tell you that it is difficult. It is not difficult to be a riffmaster. For instance, there's a guy named Keith Richards who's been in a band called the Rolling Stones for a very long time, 51 years now, and he's considered like the riffmaster of rock and roll. And his story is very important to those of you who want to be riffmasters. Now, this applies to any instrument. This applies to vocals. This applies to guitar, piano, tuba, kalimba, any instrument. The main thing is you come up with a good riff, and it only has to be a few notes. Very few notes can say an awful lot. That's known as a good riff. I will show you Keith Richards' example, tell you a little bit about his story a little later on. But right now, the reason I'm making this video right now and pacing the room is because I've had a riff bouncing around in my head for a few years, and it's finally coming to fruition, which means it's time to get it down on tape, in this case, down on video. And I'll show you other ways of doing that. Alright, that's just the background, what you're hearing there. Oh, let me go to the internet radio and gently bring down. That all lit up, didn't it? Okay, I know the screen lit up. Now there's a riff, that riff that I've had in my head. This is a way of getting it recorded. This is another way. Remember these? Believe it or not, these were being manufactured. They're called tabletop tape recorders back in the early 70s and apparently the early 60s. It's a version of that back in the 60s. In the 60s, we had a small reel-to-reel, very fine machine. Great mechanics on that machine, made in Japan and well made in Japan. Before the Japanese developed that high-tech image that worked so well for their craftsmanship. Anyway, the subject is riff. I'm going to play this riff right now before I forget it. It's basically a flatted 5 with a major 7 for those of you who like to talk that way. Alright. Very few notes. Here it goes. Yeah, that major 7 gives it a little bit of an elevator jazz feel. That's alright. That's alright. Where do you think Steely Dan came from? Elevator music. Elevator jazz music. Anyway, so, let's pull this down a little bit. Okay, there's the riff. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I know it's a lot of notes, but not too much to memorize. Anyway, I'm going to show you an ultimate riff. And Keith Richards used a magnetic tape recorder back in 1964. Yeah, I believe it was 1964. He had a riff in a dream, and he woke up and he sang it into his tape recorder, into his tabletop tape recorder on the bedside table. Woke up, sang the riff into his tape recorder like this. He pressed record like that. Now we are recording. I don't even know what's in there. I think riff samples are in here. They're probably terrible, but let's go back and listen. Oops. All right. It's been a while. Okay, review, rewind. Rewind, rewind, rewind. Da 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 da. All right, that's good enough. Let's stop and play. Hmm. Okay. I have to change the batteries on that. Okay. Um, but, but that's how this riff. Listen to this. Pull that out. All right. Okay, I'm going to show you the riff in a minute. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about.